All right, so you want to talk Jerry Jones, huh?
Yeah.
Well, strap in because today we are diving into one of those topics that just seems to have everyone talking.
Yeah, 2 million Google searches don't lie, do they?
Not even a little bit. And our listener isn't just interested in the Cowboys record this year, are they? There's something about Jerry Jones, this magnetic, larger-than-life figure that they want to unpack.
Absolutely. I mean, he's become synonymous with the NFL itself, but 2024 this year, it feels different, doesn't it? Like a perfect storm of everything Jerry Jones is colliding at once. You've got the Cowboys on the field, his influence on the entire league, and let's be honest, no Jerry Jones conversation is complete without a little, shall we say, controversy.
Look, we're getting there. Don't you worry about that. But let's start on the field. The Cowboys, they're in the playoff hunt, right? Which is exciting for Cowboys fans, but our sources, they all pointed out this kind of inconsistency with this team, especially when the pressure's on.
See, and that's where things get really interesting, because Jerry Jones, well, he's not your typical hands-off owner content to just watch the games from a luxury box. This is a man who is involved in the day-to-day coaching decisions, player personnel, contract negotiations, you name it, stuff that most owners, they leave to the experts, but not Jerry.
So every win is his win. Every loss his loss. The pressure is really dialed up.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the whole America's team thing.
Yeah, that's not just a clever marketing slogan, is it?
Not at all. The Dallas Cowboys are a cultural institution. We're talking a brand worth over $9 billion. And Jerry Jones, he approaches it with that CEO mentality.
Well, and speaking of CEO mentality, can we talk about AT&T Stadium for a second? Because Jerry World, let's be real, it's basically its own landmark now.
It's the perfect example of his business savvy. That stadium, it's not just a place to watch a football game. It is a revenue-generating machine. Concerts, events, tours, you name it. He understands the fan experience, the whole entertainment package, and he's not afraid to, capitalize on it.
Oh, he is playing chess while everyone else is stuck playing checkers. But it's bigger than just the Cowboys, isn't it? What stood out to me going through all these sources was how much Jerry Jones's influence stretches across the entire NFL landscape.
Oh, without a doubt. He's a power player in the league. He's not afraid to ruffle some feathers, push the boundaries, especially when it comes to things like, TV deals, for example. I mean, he was instrumental in securing those groundbreaking broadcasting agreements that brought in billions for the NFL.
So he's thinking about the whole league, not just his own team.
Exactly. He sees the big picture, the long game. Take, for instance, the whole global expansion thing, the NFL playing games in Europe and Mexico. Jerry's been a huge advocate for that for years because he sees the potential. Grow the whole pie, right? Not just worry about his slice of it. It's that kind of vision that's made him such a force in the NFL. And of course, that brings us to, the other side of Jerry Jones, the side that, let's face it, keeps the rumor mill churning in those gossip columns in business.
I was going to say, you don't get to be one of the most Googled names in football by shying away from a little, controversy.
Oh, he leans right into it, doesn't he?
He does. It's almost like controversy follows him wherever he goes. And it really goes back to, our sources really emphasize this. There's this willingness to take a stand, even if it ruffles some feathers. And in the NFL, that's bound to create some fireworks.
Oh, absolutely. Especially this year. This year was something else.
This year, those contract negotiations, right?
Yeah, I mean, talk about a master negotiator. You saw it on full display this year with the whole Dak Prescott contract situation. It was like a masterclass in high-stakes negotiations, pushing those boundaries, creating that tension. For a while there, I don't think anyone knew how it was going to play out.
But it really put the spotlight on how much the NFL's financial landscape is changing, didn't it? And whether those old school tactics still work in this new era?
Exactly. I mean, was he being shrewd? Was he being stubborn? I think it depends who you ask. But one thing's for sure, Jerry's not afraid to be the center of attention, to be that lightning rod, and to spark those debates.
And speaking of sparking debates, we can't shy away from this either. Our listeners specifically asked about it. The social justice aspect of all of this, it's something our sources definitely didn't shy away from.
No, not at all. And it's a good reminder that sports, they don't exist in a vacuum, do they? You can't separate them from the social and cultural currents of the time. And Jerry's found himself, he's walked right into the middle of some of those conversations.
To say the least, I mean, his response to the players protesting during the national anthem a few years back, that drew a lot of criticism, didn't it?
Oh, it absolutely did. And it highlighted, I think, the power dynamic at play here, right? What's the role of an owner, of someone with that much influence in these broader conversations? And should they be using their platform, their voice to engage in these issues, or should they stick to football? There are no easy answers, that's for sure.
It definitely adds another layer to this whole Jerry Jones story, doesn't it? It's not just about wins and losses and billion-dollar deals. We're talking about really complex societal issues. And that's all before we even get to the question of his legacy, which, well, at 82 years old, the clock is ticking. Feels like we're talking about the final season of a hit TV show, doesn't it? You know, that the stakes are high, everyone's waiting to see how it all ends.
And with the Jerry Jones, you just know there are going to be a few more plot twists before the credits roll.
Oh, for sure. But that question of succession, that was a big one that came up in our research.
Yeah, it's huge. And, he's 82 years old, still going strong. But the question of what happens next, who takes the reins of the Cowboys? Well, our sources definitely hinted at, let's just say, the potential for some drama.
Oh, there's always drama with the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
But this is next level stuff. And we know his children are involved in the organization, especially his son, Steven.
Right. Steven's been groomed for this, you could argue. But is it going to be a smooth transition? Or are we going to see a King Lear situation, a battle for the throne?
I mean, imagine the headlines. But it's bigger than just family drama, isn't it?
Right.
We're talking about one of the most valuable sports franchises in the world.
Absolutely. And we've talked about Jerry's influence on the entire NFL. Imagine those power dynamics shifting, new alliances forming.
A changing of the guard. Whoever steps into those boots, Steven or someone else entirely, they're going to have a lot to live up to.
No kidding. It's a complex legacy, to say the least. Think about it. Super Bowl wins, billion-dollar stadiums, but also those controversies we talked about.
Yeah, the man is full of contradictions, but that's what makes him so fascinating.
Yeah.
Right? You might love him, you might disagree with him, but you can't ignore him. And that's what makes this whole conversation so interesting. Because we're not just talking about Jerry Jones, the owner, the businessman, the lightning rod. We're talking about the NFL itself, its evolution, its place in our culture.
It's about power, about legacy, about the responsibility that comes with both. And I don't think there are any easy answers, which I guess is why we keep talking about it, right?
It's why he's got 2 million Google searches. And to our listener who asked us to dive into this, I hope you've got your thinking cap on, because Jerry Jones, he's a reflection of us in a lot of ways, the good, the bad, and the oh-so-controversial. And that's a story that's still being written.